Good morning, First Unitarian.
Morning.
Good morning. Please join us as we sing our opening song, myself and the pop-up choir. We'll be singing hymn number 1064. Please rise and join us if you are able to sing. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, till my dry heart can stay. I've been sailing for all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The universe is the ocean of travel, and the earth is my Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, orient in wonder, asking questions into the deep, drifting here with my ships and lanterns, all my dreaming and souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens, in our beautiful room of I give thanks to the waves upholding me, and the great winds urging me on. Read the infinite sea before me, sing the sky the sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. My universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is thy blue gold
Welcome to worship at First Unitarian Church of Rochester. Our mission is through spiritual connection in community. We listen deeply to others and ourselves, open to wonder and transformation, and serve together with love and humility.
We begin each Sunday by acknowledging with respect the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door and part of the Haudenosaunee people, whose on ancestral lands First Unitarian now sits.
My name is Susie Farrell, and my pronouns are she, her. And this is John Farrell, who uses he, him pronouns. We're so glad you're here today. If you're new or newish here, welcome. So say hello at the welcome desk or in the chat so we can help you connect with this community.
And if you came to church today because you're going through a hard time or you're worried about someone else having a hard time, please connect with our pastoral care team in the chat online today or right outside the doors. Someone's there.
Okay, before we light our chalice, let's take a deep breath together as we settle into this sacred time and place.
Please join me in our unison words. May the flame
we now
kindle inspire us to use our power to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, and to seek liberation
in the fullness
of community. Welcome, everyone.
Hello all, I'm the Reverend Shari, Halliday-Quan. I'm the lead minister here. I use them and they and she and her pronouns. Either set works for me. I spent my vacation that I'm just returning from doing exciting things like sitting by the water with a couple of friends. And it was just a couple of weeks ago when I found myself doing this very thing and catching up on each other's lives. One of my friends said to the other, "What's been going on?" And the other said, "I joined a bean club." Again, let it be clear, UU ministers have very exciting lives. "I joined a bean club," my friend said to the left of me, and my other friend to the right said, "Oh yes, one that grows magical beanstalks so that you might face your fears, because not only do we have exciting lives, but we're unapologetically weird." And the other said, "No, it's just, it's a box. I get it every month in the mail. They send me beans, and I cook them. My life is amazing." And I think this is why we come to church. Sometimes a bean club and the magic of building and living in community, well, it's as simple as it sounds. It comes in a box. You show up every month or every week or every quarter, as often as you possibly can, here in person or online. You show up again and again. You put a little heat and a little love into it, and you stir it up. It's not a beanstalk that will transport you to new and surprising heights in which you have to run for your life. But as my friend claimed, it can change your life. Welcome to First Unitarian. Welcome to Sunday morning, where everything we do requires all of us. And by that, I mean all of us, this group of people, but also all of us, all that we contain. I invite you to turn to a neighbor in gallery view online or here in the sanctuary and offer a peace sign. And wait until they offer it back. You are such a loving bunch. We come to church because it is lovely to be together, to be silly, to be joyful, but also, too, to have a moment to be still, to sit in the company of other people, knowing that we are held by a container of love and that nothing is required of you, not at this moment. There are no deadlines, no due dates, no arbiter waiting to see if you've shined up your soul quite enough. I invite you here into this space to share silence with me. Come, let us be still together. May the silence we hold heal us. May we be held by the ground, the earth, the community, and the history below us. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, source of endings and beginnings, God of many names, no name at all, and one abundant love. Sometimes praying feels like writing to Congress. I awoke this morning, and perhaps I'm not the only one, full of gratitude for the beauty outside my window, and rage and fury for the glimpse into the window that was the headlines. Week after week, this tumult. From where do we find our hope? Where does our hope come from? Sometimes I lose the way, I lose the thread. I wonder if this arc that we are supposedly bending will get better in any way that I might know. I reach out with love, with longing and protection to all who hold fear or loneliness, anxiety or grief in their hearts, for all who are wrestling with illness of mind or body, a lingering cough, the well-being of a pet, addiction, or simply surprises we would not have chosen for ourselves. I reach out with love and longing. Here in this space, held by this ground and the web of mutuality that extends beyond the seat or the feet with which I plant myself, but into this web, this network of those here in the room whose hearts beat strong, and those who gather all around Rochester, all around the world, joining us here. We speak and we listen together for a source of hope that holds us, that helps us to know, even when we do not know how this story ends, the arc is long, the web is strong, and that there is beauty that awaits us just outside, beauty within, beauty without, beauty beneath us, and beauty beyond. May we rest in that beauty and that love. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
I invite us now to enter into ritual, to bring what is heaviest in our hearts, or most present in our mind this morning, to lay it on the altar of community and spirit, honoring the complexities of life, the grief, the growth, and the gratitude alive in each of us. Online, you're invited to share in the chat, and in the sanctuary, you are invited to arrive at one of the aisle altars, to light a candle for your grief, gratitude, or growth. Extinguish the taper candle with the snuffer when you're done. Now, Joe. all that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world is now held in loving community, and by the larger love which holds us all. May it be so. Blessed be. Each week, members and friends generously contribute to our offering, which helps to sustain and grow our community. This collection supports the work and witness of our church, and each week we give half of this collection to a partner organization helping those in need and working towards creating a more just and loving world. This week, we are sharing the plate collection with the Friends of Ganondagan, which provides community programming and events to enrich the understanding of the Seneca and Haudenosaunee peoples. Their cultural programs highlight the persistence of the Haudenosaunee people, the complexity of their culture, and their enormous contributions to contemporary life. You can give online at rochesterunitarian.org/donate, or in our baskets. The offering will now be received with gratitude. This morning's reading are excerpts from Andrea Gibson's work, Clotheslines. You were carried on your father's shoulders, marching in Detroit's picket lines in the same year you were learning to run from the word union. You always said the word Michigan like sweetest prayer. Driving through the back roads near Lansing, I knew you would murder anyone in the car who made fun of the plastic deer lawn ornaments. You taught me good taste as respecting good people who keep the oven open in winter to fight the overpriced cold. We both believe good poems should come with that kind of heat, but yours can convince a room full of 500 anarchist queers to feed plums of their hearts to an old man who wakes up at 6 a.m. every morning, drives to the public school, and watches the janitor raise the American flag. Everything I know about class I learned from your lipstick color, Red State. You were never sure about me. You watch all my pickup lines drop things. But I don't play that game anymore. I spend all my time learning to bake casseroles in case the neighbor gets sick. I've already hung all my secrets out on the clothesline. I've finally learned love is a screened-in porch. I finally learned love is knowing everybody's name in the town of your reasons to run. I finally learned love prays it won't always live paycheck to paycheck, but it always does, even when it's got forever on its lips. I'm still learning to be an open road to the tree that can be climbed to safety. I think we're both still learning to believe the union can always win. Michigan. We all have hearts that want to be old pickup trucks permanently parked in someone's front yard. I'm going to keep fixing mine up, and someday you're going to be sure as the sun it's never going to run.
I don't play those games anymore. I spend all my time making casseroles in case a neighbor gets sick. So says the poet Andrea Gibson. When I arrived as lead minister here in this church 3 years ago, I began with an Andrea Gibson poem. And at the 3-year mark, I found myself on vacation the last few weeks thinking about these last 3 years together. It's been a strange run that we've had. Some of us are new, and some of us are made new, though we sure are tired. It's been a strange 3 years, and yet this poem and this poet returns again and again with wisdom for me, and I hope you, about what it means to be a loving community, a community of love that takes all of us. This past week, a friend, a mentor, a sometimes enemy, and a teacher to me died. The Reverend Rob Eller Isaacs was a lion in Unitarian Universalism. And for some of you who have been around a while, I see you nodding your heads. If you know one thing about Rob, you might know that at least once a year we sing a litany here that asks us to forgive ourselves and each other. It makes me cry every time we do it, but I try to do that in my office before I come up here. It is a deeply vulnerable act that he invites us into as a community, a gift that he offered to us, not knowing anything about who we are, but assuming because we are humans that there might be something that we wish had gone differently. Rob was speaking from experience. Over the last week, I and my friends and colleagues, we've been sharing stories. And I discovered many others had a bad first impression of Rob. In lots of ways, like so many lions, Rob was a quintessential old straight white man. He spoke over me and most everyone. He knew he was right, and he wasn't afraid to tell you when you were wrong. Rob was a lion in this field, a teacher and a mentor and a healer to me. But it wasn't always that way. Our first encounter was brusque, me bringing youthful arrogance and him bringing old arrogance, I guess. I put it that way when I apologized for my behavior and he apologized for his, and we found a way to make a relationship and a friendship work. But I discovered this past week that swaths of Unitarian Universalists and others in the communities in which he ministered had similar experiences. In fact, a few years prior, he was asked to serve on our National Board of Trustees, but before that happened, the person who first suggested his name was met with, well, Rob was mean to me this time, or Rob was rude to me this time, or Rob told me when I was wrong and he was right this other time. All of this was news to Rob. When faced with this impression that others had of him, 40 years of Unitarian Universalist ministry and 60 years of being a Unitarian Universalist did not go to waste. It would have been so easy for him to say, well, that's their impression, and they can shove it. But he didn't. He might have in his heart. He might have to his wife or to his family or to his friends. But beyond that initial moment, after a breath and a chance to circle again to his best self, this person who started every conversation with the dozens of Unitarian Universalist ministers that he mentored with, tell me about your spiritual practice, leaned on his own spiritual practice and asked trusted friends and family what they thought of this feedback that he had received. And he heard some kernel of truth in it, and he returned to try a new way. He would always be exactly who he was, someone with strong opinions and a sense of wanting to make an impact in the world. But having heard that the impact he was having was not that which he wanted to have, he found a new way. He apologized and tried again. Late in life, but not so long ago, before Rob died all too soon, he said, here in this community, I've found challenge and I've found love. And that gives me the courage to try something new. This invitation that Rob responded to, where he found not a new and perfect, shiny way of being, but a slightly different way, where he listened a little bit longer, where he apologized and caught himself when he talked over someone else at a meeting, where he listened deeply to the words of young people, of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, of women, of people of other genders. This new way of being, well, it was something that Rob was practicing his whole life. But because he had invested decades of his life into this community, and because there were dozens of people around him that he could trust with hard feedback, he chewed on it a bit, and he worked on himself a bit. Rob Eller Isaacs is a lion in our faith whose legacy and power and writing and mentorship will live on far beyond him. But his death offers an invitation to each of us here today, to me and to you, to consider what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, to return back to basics, which we'd like to do in the summer anyway, because it's hot and because many of you are thinking about putting your feet in a river somewhere. I expect you to leave here today with maybe one main takeaway, one thing to chew on. If you are here for the first time, I want you to know that First Unitarian and Unitarian Universalism aims to be, and is not perfectly, but almost, a community where you can bring your full self, a place where you can come as you are, and where we, those of us who have been here a while, will aim to meet you where you are. And if you're someone who's on the other side of that, who's been coming for a long time, who's been sitting in these pews for weeks or months or years or decades, I want you to know that this community that aims to meet you where you are, this community of belonging with whom you have hopefully formed lifelong friendships and gone through hard times and beautiful celebrations, is a community that aims to meet you where you are, but not leave you there. We do ourselves no justice and no true and transforming love if here in community, by our relationships, we don't aim to listen deeply to each other and learn to find new ways of being, to try, to extend, and to grow. Ours is a community where you get more if you give more, where the ways you show up on Sunday mornings or through the week, whether that's open to meeting new people or just coming in to hear a good word and then heading out, then dictate the fruits that you reap. Now, all of us, I hope, all of us, I pray, all of us, I wish for, have moments that we had nothing to do with and yet are great gifts. Moments of insight that we did not work for, moments of beauty that just come barreling down life, ready to grab us by the head and say, look at me. I felt this way when I saw the Webb telescope photos coming out, each new batch, a moment of awe and wonder for me that I did no math for or no engineering. That was someone else's work. I wish for all of us the unearned beauty and grace of life. But I know that 95% of the time, we get what we put in. And this isn't to say that those who are having a difficult time in life deserve it. I mean nothing of the sort. There is much in society that conspires against the goodness and thriving of all of us. But I know both in our justice work and in our spiritual lives, the slow building up of practice invites us into new gifts, offers us new ways of being. When Rob Eller Isaacs asked his friends and mentees each and every time he spoke with them, "How is your spiritual practice going?" What he's asking is not, did you pray every day so that you might get into heaven? Or can you meditate for 45 minutes without any errant thoughts as proof of your own goodness? He meant, are you putting in the work? Are you arriving with an open heart saying, I'll try this. I probably won't get it right, but I'll lay it down like a sheet of paper, and tomorrow's will lay down also like a sheet of paper, and the next day, and and soon you might have a stack of goodwill, of community, of small, minuscule insights that would be too minute to define on a daily basis. And yet, over the course of days and weeks and months and decades, you might have built a foundation for a new way of being. Here in this church, in this community, our goal is not to leave you where we found you. But like any good Girl Scout, I want to leave this place and your hearts and your lives better than we found it. I want you to find a community here, a group of people with whom you can be vulnerable, with whom you can ask about changes in your own life or changes in the world. I want you to find a group of people who will challenge you and tell you, like Rob did, when you are wrong, and also maybe when you are right and need to lean more thoroughly into it. This task, this invitation, this challenge, it's like those magic beans. It's not a beanstalk that grows up so that you might flee in wonder and terror, but instead a subscription offered to you. It shows up. We're here every week. It shows up again and again. And you're invited to come to add a little heat, a little spice, your own flavor, and stir it up together. Here in this church, we draw from a tradition that extends beyond us. I draw from the teachings and learnings of my mentors that came before. And we move into a world that we do not yet know, a place of uncertainty, of anxiety, of change. We know the world that exists ahead of us is one that none of us have quite journeyed in before. And yet we have the right companions for it, shoulder to shoulder, with your spices and mine. May you be invited into the spiritual practice of creating collective belonging. May you be invited into the spiritual practice of saying to one another, how is your heart? How is your spirit? What have you been practicing? Together we will face all that is yet to be known. Each page, each day, each new bean box. Let us do it together. Come and go with me, my friends. We go to a land that is promised to us. We go knowing that we draw from not only those whose world was handed to them, but also those who have had to fight, to struggle, to find new ways of freedom. And so I invite you to rise in body or in spirit with me and sing a song that comes, it's an African American spiritual, and it talks of a promised land that is not yet here. The place we will go is not simply the place of belonging right here, but one that awaits us, that we move to together in the future.
There will be singing.
Well, thank you. I'm going to ask you to all take your seats for just a moment. We're going to go a little bit off script because I know we're all melting just like the projector today, and I hear last week also. The temperature's dropping every week, and we might need a new projector. Thank you to Sarah and to Sarah, our musical leaders today, to our pop-up choir, to all who make church possible. Laura's, who's here, our artist today, has brought us visual beauty, a window into the outside. Emily and Eric somehow managed to not scream in terror when the projector goes out. Church is something that takes many hands, but I don't actually mean the show on Sundays. I mean the arrival to open hearts and to change that occurs in small and big ways throughout all of our lives. It takes all of us, and it takes all of us. Here in this church, may we be a people of spiritual practice, a people of heart, a people who arrive again and again to find new ways of being. Here in this space, in this hour, may our love extend beyond this room, beyond this web, beyond this time, to invite us to ever living and ever loving. Please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words, and because the projector isn't working, I'm going to say it out line by line. Please repeat after me. We extinguish this flame.
We extinguish this flame,
But not the light of truth,
but not the light of truth,
the warmth of community,
the warmth of community,
or the fire of commitment.
or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts
These we carry in our hearts
until we are together again.
until we are together again.
Thank you. These words by Elizabeth Sell Jones echo in my heart, and you carry it well. Please join me outside for coffee and refreshments. Please join me for conversation. Please join me online and many others for making the deep and abiding relationships that we return to again and again, knowing none of us are perfect, and that only together may we find a new way. May it be so. Go in peace and go in love. Amen.
Thank you. Oh! No.